Are there concerns about Hillary Clinton's electability? Well, now, Bernie Sanders' camp is going to make the argument that Hillary Clinton is a bad nominee. She doesn't poll well against Donald Trump. Yes, in most of the polls, she still beats him, but Bernie Sanders beats him by a much larger margin. And yes, she is the most unfavorable candidate leading into a general election the Democratic Party has ever had. And she's, in fact, the second most unfavorable candidate in U.S. history heading into a general election. The only person more unfavorable than her is her likely opponent, Donald Trump. So, yes, that's a lucky break, but perhaps we shouldn't play dice with the Republic by taking a chance that, well, Donald Trump is a little bit more unfavorable than Hillary Clinton. So let's look at that unfavorable numbers, break it down a little bit. Now, this is from Gallup, very, very respected. It's from a couple of weeks ago, but I give it to you in the context of the argument that the Sanders campaign is making today. So now, one problem that Hillary Clinton has is with Republican voters. Now, they always love to say, oh, the Republicans won't work with Bernie Sanders if he wins. Will they work with Hillary Clinton? Of course not. And her surrogates now belatedly admitting on television, like, well, the Republican problem, they wouldn't work with her either. When it comes to Republican voters, they wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton on a boat. They wouldn't vote for her on a goat. Come hell or high water, a lot of them will not vote for Hillary Clinton. Now, some of the establishment and some of the donor base might switch to Hillary Clinton. That's a different story, okay? Now, when it comes to independents, she polls very poorly. But the context of this story is, how is she doing in retaining the support of her own party? And the answer is very poorly. Okay, so let me show you the Gallup numbers. Back in October, November, her favorability among Democrats was great. It was plus 63. Now, that's in her own party, and she's a Clinton, which is obviously a big part of the Democratic Party. So, but still, a great number, right? Now, in April, plus 36. So that has dropped significantly. A 27-point drop ain't nothing to mess with. So a lot of questions about how she's doing. Now, that's why the Hillary Clinton people will scream at Bernie Sanders, stop attacking her! Now, you can look at it that way, but the other way to look at it is, you think Donald Trump is going to take it easy on her? Like, is Bernie Sanders going to come up with something that Donald Trump wouldn't have thought of? So Bernie Sanders, for example, attacked her on her Wall Street transcripts, right? And her ties to banking. Trump's already on it. I mean, look, Trump's not the brightest bulb, but he does know marketing. That's the only thing he knows. He knows how to appeal to a crowd. You think that in the entire general election race, he wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, she takes a lot of money from corporations. Damn it, why didn't we think of that? And like that, Bernie gave him the idea. No, of course he would have attacked her on that. So this was inevitable. And so hopefully it made her a stronger candidate that could maybe have some answers to that, although she hasn't done very well in giving those answers. Now, there's one other thing here. You can say, hey, look, her favorability has gone down tremendously, but doesn't every candidate in a tough election fight? So, oh my God, this is the number one argument that the Democratic establishment makes against Bernie Sanders. Oh, in a general election, he might be really popular now, but in a tough election fight, his poll numbers will go way down. Well, let's take a look within this election fight between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and see if that happened. Now look at this chart. You see Hillary Clinton in the dark green going way down, as I described to you, from 63 to 36. Oh, wait a minute. Bernie Sanders in the light green has gone up. There's been some swings down, and you know, you could begin to explain those in some of the attack ads, yada, yada, but overall, the number has gone way up in the election, not down, up. So it is not true that you automatically lose favorability numbers in tough election fights. And I think we can agree that it's been a tough election for Bernie Sanders. It's not like the Clinton people took it easy on him. And nonetheless, his poll numbers went up within the party. And by the way, his numbers also go up with independents and have gone up in the middle of the election. So the idea that you're always going to lose favorability numbers is not true. And the idea that Sanders would be exposed in a general election matchup, well, it's not borne out by the independent numbers, and it's not borne out by what the establishment assumes is his weakness in elections. He has not yet shown that weakness, whereas she has shown great weakness in being able to energize her own voters, which is exactly what this data is about. Let me give you more context. Gallup explains about Bernie Sanders. He reached his personal net favorable rating apogee, that's plus 63, his height, in late March, early April. And although it's been down slightly since then, his is still the most positive rating for any candidate of either party at this point by a large margin. Now, Gallup is as unbiased, objective as it gets. They do polling numbers and they analyze those numbers for you. Hillary Clinton is the most unfavorable candidate Democrats have ever had, and now increasingly unfavorable in her own party. Bernie Sanders is the most favorable candidate of either party. So look, you could say, hey, the race is over, this is immaterial, yada, yada. But one of the reasons that I bring this to you is we warned you. The Democratic Party establishment is 100% wrong. They are of the mind that, oh no, Hillary Clinton is a great candidate, right? She'll definitely win because she's so pro-establishment. Bernie Sanders is a bad candidate. Oh, he's a socialist, he's too liberal, he's this. He'll get exposed in a general election matchup. No, you're completely wrong. He does astoundingly better with independents against Hillary Clinton and against Donald Trump. She can't even hold her own base. He's the most favored candidate among Americans. So if he were to go up in a general election matchup, he would do much better than Hillary Clinton. But on TV, and by the way, also in print, every mainstream outlet, every traditional media outlet will scream from the rooftops the exact opposite, backed by no data whatsoever. No data. They don't have the facts. They just say, oh no, I know it in my gut. Here's what they know in their gut. They don't want Bernie Sanders to raise their taxes, and they don't want him to change the system. That system is what has made them successful, powerful, and rich. Here's what they know for certain, but what they never tell you. They're positive Hillary Clinton is going to protect that system. That is why they tell you she's more electable. It's not remotely true, and the numbers bear that out.